Alien ships in trouble. The vastness of space was quiet, as it usually was. Stars twinkled in the distance, and planets slowly orbited their suns. In this quiet, a fleet of alien ships glided smoothly through the dark expanse. These ships belonged to the Zartil, a species known for their advanced technology and prideful nature. The Zartil believed their technology was the best in the galaxy, far superior to anything the primitive humans could create. But suddenly, something went wrong. The lead ship, a massive cruiser named Volaris, began to shake. The lights flickered and the control panels beeped warnings. The Zartil crew, usually calm and confident, started to panic. The ship's captain, Commander Zelkor, barked orders to his crew, trying to understand what was happening. "Status report," Commander Zelkor demanded. One of the engineers, a tall Zartil with green scales, quickly checked the ship's systems. His large dark eyes widened in shock. "Commander, we're experiencing a critical failure in the main power core. The stabilizers are failing and we're losing control of the ship." Zelkor's heart pounded in his chest. This was impossible. The Zartil technology was supposed to be perfect. How could this happen? He knew that if the power core failed completely, the Volaris would be stranded in space, helpless and vulnerable. "Can we fix it?" Zelkor asked, his voice tense. The engineer shook his head. "We don't have the necessary tools or parts, Commander. We need to dock at a repair station immediately or we risk losing the entire fleet." Zelkor clenched his fists. The closest Zartil repair station was light years away. They would never make it in time. But then a thought crossed his mind. There was a small human repair station nearby. The Zartil had always looked down on humans, considering them an inferior species. But now, with no other options, Zelkor had to swallow his pride. "Set a course for the human repair station," Zelkor ordered. The crew hesitated. They had never imagined relying on humans for anything, let alone something as important as ship repairs. But with no other choice, they followed the commander's orders. The fleet changed direction, heading towards the small, insignificant-looking station floating in the vastness of space. As the fleet approached the human station, the Zartil crew couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. The station was much smaller than their massive ships, and it didn't look nearly as advanced. Could these humans really help them? The Volaris was the first to dock. The docking bay of the human station was simple, with basic equipment and a few human engineers moving around. The station's lights were dim compared to the bright interiors of the Zartil ships. Commander Zelkor stepped out of the ship, his tall, imposing figure towering over the humans. The human engineers looked up at him with a mix of curiosity and caution. They had never seen a Zartil up close before. Zelkor's green scales shimmered under the lights, and his eyes were sharp and focused. "Welcome to Station Gamma," one of the human engineers said with a polite smile. He was a middle-aged man with a kind face, dressed in a simple work suit. "I'm Chief Engineer Mark Thompson. How can we assist you?" Zelkor looked down at the human, barely able to hide his discomfort. "Our ship is experiencing a critical failure in the power core. We need immediate repairs," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Mark nodded, his expression serious. "We'll do everything we can to help. Our team is skilled, and we have experience with various alien technologies. Please follow me." The commander followed Mark into the station, his crew trailing behind him. As they walked through the narrow corridors, Zelkor couldn't help but notice how simple and straightforward everything was. There were no flashy gadgets or advanced technology, just basic tools and equipment. They reached the repair bay, where a team of human engineers was already preparing to work on the Volaris. The Zartil crew watched in silence as the humans moved quickly and efficiently, setting up diagnostic tools and gathering the necessary parts. One of the Zartil engineers leaned toward Zelkor. "Commander, are you sure these humans can handle our technology? It's far beyond anything they've ever worked on." Zelkor frowned but didn't respond. He had the same doubts, but what choice did they have? The power core was failing and they were running out of time. Mark noticed the tension in the air and turned to Zelkor. "Don't worry, Commander. We've dealt with complex systems before. We'll get your ship back up and running in no time." Zelkor nodded, though his doubts remained. He watched as the human engineers began their work. They moved with confidence, their hands steady as they opened up the panels of the ship's power core. The Zartil engineers stood nearby, ready to assist but also to observe. Considered. Instead of relying on advanced technology, they focused on practical solutions, using their knowledge and experience to solve the problem at hand. Mark and his team worked tirelessly, their focus unwavering. They communicated with each other using straightforward language, making sure everyone was on the same page. The Zartil engineers, who had initially been skeptical, started to respect the humans' expertise. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Mark stepped back from the power core and wiped his brow. "We've stabilized the core. It should hold until you reach a proper repair facility," he said with a satisfied smile. Zelkor looked at the readings on the control panel. The power core was functioning again, the stabilizers back online. He couldn't believe it. The humans had done it. For the first time, Zelkor felt a sense of relief. He looked at Mark and gave a nod of approval. "Thank you, Chief Engineer. Your assistance was unexpected but greatly appreciated." Mark smiled, nodding in return. "We're always here to help, Commander. Safe travels." As the Zartil fleet prepared to leave the station, Zelkor couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. He had come here out of desperation, but he was leaving with a newfound respect for the humans and their unmatched expertise. The galaxy was a big place, and maybe, just maybe, the Zartil had underestimated these so-called primitive beings. And so, the fleet set off once again, the stars twinkling in the distance. But this time, Zelkor knew they had allies among the stars. Humans, with their simple tools and brilliant minds. A warm welcome, the Zartil fleet, having narrowly avoided disaster, was now safely docked at the human repair station known as Station Gamma. The station itself was much smaller and simpler than the Zartil's grand ships. To the alien crew, it looked almost primitive, with its metal walls and basic structures. But it was the only place in the galaxy where they could find help, and right now, that's all that mattered. As the Zartil crew disembarked from their ships, they were greeted by a group of human engineers, all wearing simple gray uniforms. The humans didn't seem intimidated by the imposing presence of the Zartil, despite the aliens' towering figures and green-scaled skin. Instead, the humans smiled warmly, their faces full of genuine friendliness. One of the humans, a tall man with gray hair and a kind face, stepped forward. It was Chief Engineer Mark Thompson, the leader of the station's repair team. He extended a hand towards Commander Zelkor, the Zartil leader. Zelkor hesitated for a moment, unsure of the human custom, but then carefully shook Mark's hand, mimicking the gesture. "Welcome to Station Gamma," Mark said with a smile. "We're glad to have you here. Don't worry, we'll take good care of your ships." Zelkor nodded, still feeling uneasy. The Zartil were not used to such informalities, especially from a species they had long considered inferior. But there was something about the humans' attitude that was disarming. They didn't seem to care about the differences between them, they just wanted to help. The human engineers wasted no time. They quickly began inspecting the Zartil ships, checking the damage and preparing for repairs. The Zartil crew watched with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The humans moved with surprising efficiency, their hands deftly handling tools and equipment. It was clear that they knew what they were doing, even if their methods seemed unconventional to the Zartil. Mark noticed the wary looks from the Zartil crew and decided to address their concerns directly. He approached Zelkor, who was standing near the entrance of the Valeris, observing the humans' work. "Commander," Mark began, "I understand that this might be different from what you're used to, but I assure you my team is highly skilled. We've worked on ships from all over the galaxy, and we always do our best to get them back in top shape." Zelkor studied Mark's face. There was no arrogance in the human's words, just a quiet confidence. It was strange to Zelkor. He was used to dealing with species that flaunted their superiority. But these humans seemed content with simply doing their job well. "We appreciate your assistance," Zelkor replied, his tone formal. "Our ships are vital to our mission. We cannot afford any mistakes." Mark nodded understandingly. "Of course. We'll treat your ships with the utmost care. If you have any specific concerns, please let us know." As Mark returned to his team, Zelkor couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. The human's calm and friendly demeanor was easing the tension that had been building since the fleet's systems began to fail. For the first time, Zelkor allowed himself to relax, if only slightly. Meanwhile, the rest of the Zartil crew was exploring the station. They were surprised by the simplicity of the place. The walls were lined with tools and equipment that looked old-fashioned compared to Zartil technology. But despite this, everything was organized and well-maintained. The humans clearly took pride in their work, even if their resources were limited. One of the Zartil engineers, a young female named Tyrell, was particularly curious. She wandered through the repair bays, watching the human engineers at work. They moved with a kind of fluidity that fascinated her. They didn't rely on advanced machines or automated systems like the Zartil did. Instead, they used their hands and minds, making adjustments on the fly and solving problems as they arose. Tyrell approached one of the humans, a short woman with bright eyes and a cheerful smile. The woman was working on a complex piece of equipment, her hands moving quickly as she made precise adjustments. "Excuse me?" Tyrell said hesitantly, her voice a low hum. The human looked up, still smiling. "Oh, hello. Can I help you with something?" Tyrell hesitated, unsure how to phrase her question. "I was just curious. Your methods are different from ours. How do you know what to do?" The human chuckled softly. "It's a mix of experience and instinct, I guess. We learn by doing, and every ship is a little different. It keeps things interesting." Tyrell tilted her head, intrigued. The Zartil valued precision and uniformity in their work. Everything was calculated and planned down to the smallest detail. But here, the humans seemed to embrace the unpredictability, adapting to whatever challenges came their way. "Do you not worry about making mistakes?" Tyrell asked. The human shrugged. "Mistakes happen sometimes, but we learn from them. The important thing is to stay calm and figure out a solution. There's always a way to fix things." This casual approach to problem-solving was foreign to Tyrell, but she couldn't deny that it seemed to work. The human engineers were making progress on the repairs, and despite their simple tools, they were getting the job done. Back near the Valaris, Mark was finishing up a conversation with one of his engineers when Zelkor approached him again. "Your crew seems content," Zelkor observed. "They do not appear to be under much stress, despite the urgency of the situation." Mark smiled. "We're used to handling all sorts of problems here. It helps to stay positive and keep things light. We've found that a good attitude makes the work go smoother." Zelkor nodded thoughtfully. The Zartil approach to engineering was much more serious and rigid. Perhaps there was something to be learned from the humans' relaxed yet efficient way of working. As the day went on, the atmosphere on the station grew more relaxed. The Zartil crew, who had initially been tense and wary, began to loosen up. They started asking the human engineers questions, curious about their techniques and tools. The humans, in turn, were happy to share their knowledge, explaining their methods in simple terms. For the first time, there was real communication and cooperation between the two species. The Zartil learned that the humans' strength lay not in advanced technology, but in their adaptability and resourcefulness. The humans, on the other hand, gained a deeper understanding of the Zartil's complex systems. By the end of the day, the repairs were well underway, and the tension that had filled the station earlier was gone. The Zartil crew no longer viewed the humans as inferior or primitive. Instead, they saw them as skilled allies, capable of solving even the most difficult problems with creativity and determination. As night fell over Station Gamma, the human and Zartil engineers shared a meal together in the station's modest dining hall. The food was simple, but the atmosphere was warm and welcoming. Laughter and conversation filled the air as the two groups bonded over their shared experience. The humans had welcomed them with open arms, offering help without hesitation. It was a lesson in humility for the proud Zartil commander, and one he would not soon forget. As he looked around the room, Zelkor realized that this experience had changed his perspective. The humans were not just repair technicians, they were problem solvers, innovators, and most importantly, friends. And in the vast, lonely expanse of space, that was worth more than all the advanced technology in the galaxy. The magic of human tools. The next day, the Zartil fleet was still docked at Station Gamma with the repairs in full swing. The alien crew, now more at ease, observed the human engineers closely. They had come to realize that despite their initial doubts, the humans knew exactly what they were doing. However, there was still one thing that puzzled the Zartil crew: how the humans could achieve so much with such simple tools. Commander Zelkor, now genuinely curious, decided to investigate. He approached Mark Thompson, the chief engineer, who was busy adjusting a damaged power conduit on the Volaris. Mark was using a small handheld device that emitted a faint blue light, guiding it over the surface of the conduit with careful precision. "Chief Engineer Mark," Zelkor began, his voice carrying a mix of respect and curiosity, "I have been observing your team. Your tools are unlike anything we've seen. They seem basic, yet you accomplish so much. How is this possible?" Mark looked up from his work and smiled. He could sense the genuine interest in Zelkor's question, a sign that the aliens were beginning to see the humans as more than just simple repair technicians. "Commander, our tools may seem simple, but they're the result of centuries of innovation and experience," Mark explained. "We've learned that sometimes less is more. Our tools are designed to be versatile, allowing us to adapt to different situations. It's not just the tools themselves, but how we use them that makes the difference." Zelkor nodded slowly, trying to grasp the concept. The Zartil were accustomed to highly specialized equipment, each tool designed for a specific task. The idea that a single tool could be used in many different ways was foreign to him. Mark, noticing Zelkor's interest, decided to give a demonstration. He picked up a device that looked like a simple wrench but with multiple attachments and settings. "This here is a multi-purpose tool," Mark explained, holding it up for Zelkor to see. "We use it for everything from tightening bolts to cutting through metal." With a quick flick of his wrist, Mark adjusted the tool, and the attachment changed from a wrench to a laser cutter. He used it to slice through a small piece of scrap metal lying nearby. The laser made a clean cut, and the metal fell away smoothly. Zelkor watched, impressed by the tool's efficiency. "Our tools are designed to be flexible," Mark continued. "In space, you never know what kind of problem you'll encounter, so we need to be ready for anything. A tool that can do multiple things saves us time and space, and it allows us to be more creative in solving problems." Zelkor was fascinated. He had always believed that advanced technology required complexity, but here were these humans, using simple, multifunctional tools to achieve results that were just as effective, if not more so, than the Zartil's advanced equipment. Nearby, Tyrell, the young Zartil engineer, was also watching with interest. She had spent the previous day observing the humans, trying to understand their methods. Now, seeing the multi-purpose tool in action, she couldn't help but feel a mix of admiration and curiosity. Tyrell approached Mark, her eyes fixed on the tool in his hand. "May I examine it?" she asked hesitantly. Mark handed the tool to her with a smile. "Of course. Feel free to explore its functions. It's pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it." Tyrell took the tool and examined it closely. She turned it over in her hands, feeling its weight and testing the different attachments. It was remarkably easy to use, with each function clearly labeled and accessible. She marveled at the simplicity and efficiency of the design. As Tyrell experimented with the tool, she began to understand the human's approach to engineering. It wasn't about having the most advanced technology, it was about making the best use of what was available. The humans had mastered the art of doing more with less, and that was something Tyrell found both intriguing and inspiring. Mark watched as Tyrell became engrossed in the tool's features. He could see the gears turning in her mind, the same way they had when he was a young engineer, first learning the ropes. He decided to share a bit more of the philosophy behind their tools. "You see, Tyrell," Mark began, "we humans have always had to make do with what we have. In space, resources are limited, and we can't always rely on having the perfect tool for every job. So, we've learned to be resourceful, to think on our feet, and to find creative solutions. That's what these tools represent, the ability to adapt and overcome." Tyrell nodded, her respect for the humans growing with every word. She realized that the humans' true strength wasn't in their technology, but in their ingenuity and adaptability. They didn't need the most advanced equipment because they knew how to make the most of what they had. Meanwhile, the rest of the Zartil crew had also begun to take notice of the humans' tools. They saw how quickly the repairs were progressing, how the humans moved from one task to another with ease, using their multi-purpose tools to tackle a wide range of issues. The Zartil had always prided themselves on their technological superiority, but now they were seeing the value in the humans' simpler, more practical approach. As the day went on, the Zartil crew started to ask questions, eager to learn more about the humans' methods. The human engineers were more than happy to share their knowledge, demonstrating their tools and explaining the reasoning behind their designs. It was a cultural exchange that neither species had expected, but both were benefiting from. By the time the sun began to set over Station Gamma, the repairs on the Zartil fleet were nearly complete. The alien ships, once battered and in need of help, were now shining examples of the humans' skill and craftsmanship. The Zartil crew couldn't help but feel a newfound respect for their human counterparts. As they prepared to depart, Zelkor approached Mark one last time. "Chief Engineer Mark," Zelkor said, his tone formal but sincere, "your tools and methods have shown us a new way of thinking. We came here seeking repairs, but we are leaving with much more. For that, we are grateful." Mark smiled, extending his hand once again. "It was our pleasure, Commander Zelkor. Remember, our doors are always open if you ever need our help again." Zelkor shook Mark's hand, this time with genuine warmth. The humans had not only repaired their ships, but had also opened their eyes to new possibilities. As the Zartil fleet prepared to leave Station Gamma, they knew that their encounter with the humans had changed them in ways they hadn't anticipated. And as they departed, the Zartil couldn't help but wonder what other surprises these humans had in store, hidden behind their simple tools and unassuming technology. A big problem. The Zartil fleet was nearly ready to leave Station Gamma. The repairs were almost complete, and the crew felt a sense of relief. However, just as they prepared for departure, an urgent alert rang out across the station. Red lights flashed, and a loud siren echoed through the corridors. Commander Zelkor rushed to the control center, followed by his officers. Mark Thompson was already there, staring at the main screen with a serious expression. The screen displayed a massive energy buildup in the engine core of the Zartil flagship, the Volaris. "What is happening, Mark?" Zelkor demanded, his voice tense. Mark's eyes were locked on the screen. "It's not good, Commander. The repairs to your engine core triggered an unexpected reaction. The core is overheating, and if we don't cool it down fast, it could explode. The entire fleet could be destroyed, and the blast would take half the station with it." The gravity of the situation hit everyone in the room. The Zartil officers exchanged worried glances. They had just overcome one challenge, and now they faced an even bigger one. Zelkor's mind raced as he tried to think of a solution, but he was out of his depth. Mark, sensing the commander's uncertainty, quickly took charge. "We need to act fast. We have two options: vent the excess energy into space or shut down the core completely. But both are risky. Venting might not release the energy fast enough, and shutting down the core could cause it to destabilize." Zelkor nodded, trying to keep calm. "What do you recommend, Mark?" Mark didn't hesitate. "I suggest we try to vent the energy first. If that doesn't work, we'll go for the shutdown. But we need to work together. Your engineers will have to monitor the core from your ship, while we control the vents from the station. Communication will be key." The Zartil officers quickly relayed the orders, and the station's engineers prepared for the operation. Zelkor and his chief engineer, Tyrell, returned to the Volaris to oversee the core's stability. The crew was nervous, but they trusted the humans. They had seen their expertise firsthand, and now they had no choice but to rely on them again. As Zelkor and Tyrell entered the engine room of the Volaris, the heat was intense. The core glowed with a dangerous orange light, and the temperature readings were off the charts. Tyrell immediately started scanning the core's parameters, while Zelkor opened a communication link to Mark. "Mark, we're in position. The core is reaching critical levels. Are you ready to start the venting process?" Zelkor's voice was steady, but his heart was racing. "Ready on our end," Mark replied, his tone focused. "On my count. 3, 2. 1. Venting now. The station's control room was filled with tension as the engineers activated the venting system. On the screen, they watched as the excess energy began to flow out of the core, directed towards space. At first, it seemed to be working. The core's temperature started to drop, and everyone began to relax. But just as they thought they had it under control, alarms blared again. The core's energy levels spiked, and the venting system was overwhelmed. The energy buildup was too much, too fast. The venting alone wasn't going to be enough. "Mark, it's not working!" Zelkor shouted over the comms. "The core's still overheating." Mark's mind raced as he tried to think of an alternative. Shutting down the core was risky, but it was their only chance now. "Commander, we have to shut down the core." "It's the only way to stop this." Zelkor didn't hesitate. "Understood. Tyrell, prepare for a full shutdown." Tyrell's hands flew over the controls as she initiated the shutdown sequence. The core's hum grew louder, vibrating the entire ship. The temperature continued to rise, and the ship's systems struggled to keep up. Back on the station, Mark and his team monitored the core's status closely. The shutdown sequence was risky, but if they could pull it off, they might still save the ship and the station. "Tyrell, how's it looking?" Zelkor asked, his voice tense. "We're almost there, Commander. Just a few more seconds," Tyrell replied, her eyes glued to the controls. But as the shutdown sequence neared completion, the core emitted a high-pitched whine, and the energy readings spiked one last time. The entire ship shuddered, and the lights flickered. Zelkor braced himself, fearing the worst. Then suddenly the core went silent. The whine stopped, the vibrations ceased, and the temperature readings began to drop. The lights stabilized, and the ship's systems returned to normal. The shutdown had worked. Zelkor let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. "Tyrell, status report. The core is stable, Commander." "We did it," Tyrell said, relief evident in her voice. Mark's voice came over the comms. "Nice work, everyone. That was close, but you pulled it off. The core is safe, and the ship's systems are returning to normal." Zelkor smiled, feeling a wave of relief wash over him. "Thank you, Mark. We couldn't have done it without you." Mark chuckled. "We're all in this together, Commander. Now, let's get those final repairs done and get your fleet safely on its way." As the Zartil crew began to wrap up the repairs, the atmosphere on the Valaris shifted from tension to camaraderie. They had faced a big problem together, and they had overcome it. The humans had once again proven their expertise, and the Zartil crew couldn't help but feel a deep respect for their allies. This experience had taught them more than just the value of human ingenuity. It had shown them the importance of cooperation and trust. As the fleet prepared to depart, Zelkor knew that their relationship with the humans had changed forever. They were no longer just clients seeking repairs. They were partners, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy threw at them, fixing the impossible. The station was abuzz with activity. The crisis with the Valaris was a close call, but the humans had managed to avert disaster. Now it was time to address the aftermath. The core shutdown had caused some damage to the ship's systems, leaving the Zartil engineers scratching their heads. The problem seemed beyond their expertise, and they turned once again to the humans for help. Commander Zelkor, now fully aware of the humans' capabilities, didn't hesitate to reach out to Mark Thompson. "Mark, we have another issue. The core shutdown was successful, but it's left some of our systems in a bad state. Our engineers are struggling to fix it. We need your help." Mark responded with his usual calm confidence. "We'll take a look, Commander. Bring your chief engineer to our workshop and we'll see what we can do." Zelkor nodded and signaled to Tyrell to accompany him. Together, they made their way to the human workshop on the station. The workshop was a hive of activity, with human engineers working on various projects. The air was thick with the scent of oil and metal, and the sound of tools echoed through the space. Mark greeted them at the entrance, gesturing for them to follow. "This way. We've set up a diagnostic station to assess the damage to your systems." Tyrell, though skilled, felt a bit out of place among the human engineers. Their tools and techniques were different from what she was used to, but she was determined to learn from them. As they approached the diagnostic station, Mark handed her a tablet displaying the detailed scans of the Valaris' systems. "The core shutdown caused a feedback loop in your energy distribution network," Mark explained. "It's a complex problem, but not impossible to fix. We'll need to rewire some of the systems and recalibrate the energy flow regulators. Tyrell studied the scans, nodding slowly as she absorbed the information. This is more complicated than I expected, but with your guidance, I think we can do it. Mark smiled. That's the spirit. We've faced worse problems before. Let's get started. The next few hours were intense. Tyrell worked side by side with the human engineers, following their instructions and learning from their methods. Mark's team was patient, explaining each step clearly and offering tips that Tyrell found invaluable. As they worked, Zelkor observed from a distance, impressed by the humans' ability to tackle such a daunting task. It wasn't just their technical knowledge that stood out, it was their attitude. They approached the problem with a sense of determination and optimism, no matter how difficult it seemed. At one point, Tyrell encountered a particularly tricky section of the wiring. The components were damaged beyond repair, and she wasn't sure how to proceed. She hesitated, then turned to Mark for help. I'm not sure how to fix this part. The damage is extensive. Mark took a look and frowned. This is going to be tough. We could try replacing the components, but I'm not sure we have the exact parts on hand. We might have to improvise. Tyrell's brow furrowed. Improvise? How? Mark grinned. It's something we humans are pretty good at. Let's see what we've got. He rummaged through a nearby toolbox, pulling out various bits and pieces. We'll use these to patch things up temporarily. It won't be perfect, but it should hold long enough for you to get back to your base and perform a full repair. Tyrell watched as Mark expertly pieced together a makeshift solution. It wasn't elegant, but it was effective. She marveled at how the humans could adapt so quickly to any situation, finding creative solutions where others might give up. Try it now, Mark said, stepping back to give Tyrell space. She carefully connected the improvised components and ran a diagnostic. To her surprise, the system came to life, showing signs of stability. The energy flow regulators responded positively, and the feedback loop dissipated. It's working, Tyrell exclaimed, unable to hide her excitement. Mark nodded, satisfied. Good job, Tyrell. It's not a permanent fix, but it'll get the job done for now. Once you're back at your base, you can replace the components properly. Tyrell smiled, feeling a surge of pride. Thank you, Mark. I've learned so much from this experience. Your approach to problem solving is truly unique. Mark shrugged modestly. We just do what we have to. The important thing is that the Valaris is one step closer to being fully operational. Now, let's move on to the next system. As they continued their work, Tyrell couldn't help but think about how much she had underestimated the humans. Their expertise went beyond mere knowledge. It was their ability to think on their feet, to adapt and overcome any challenge, that made them exceptional. She realized that this was why so many alien ships flocked to human repair stations, because the humans could fix the impossible. By the end of the day, the critical systems of the Valaris were back online. Tyrell and Mark's team had worked tirelessly, overcoming every obstacle in their path. The Zartil engineers, who had been watching and assisting where they could, were equally impressed. Commander Zelkor thanked Mark and his team for their help. You've done more than just repair our ship. You've shown us what true expertise looks like. We are in your debt. Mark shook his head. No debt, Commander. We're all just doing our part. That's what makes us stronger. Working together, no matter how impossible the task seems. As the Valaris prepared to depart, Tyrell looked back at the human workshop one last time. She knew that this experience had changed her perspective. The humans had shown her that no problem was too big, no challenge too daunting. With the right attitude and a little bit of creativity, anything was possible. Sharing the stories. The Valaris glided away from the human repair station. The crew felt a mixture of relief and awe. The ship was back in working order thanks to the humans' unmatched expertise. Commander Zelkor sat in the captain's chair, staring at the view of the stars, his mind still processing everything that had happened. Tyrell, the chief engineer, entered the bridge, a look of satisfaction on her face. Commander, the repairs are holding steady. We're on course to return to our base. Zelkor nodded, still deep in thought. Tyrell, have you ever encountered anything like this before? The humans? They didn't just repair our ship, they taught us so much more. Tyrell smiled. They certainly did, Commander. Their way of thinking is different. They're not afraid to improvise, to find solutions even when the situation seems impossible. Zelkor leaned back in his chair, considering her words. I think it's time we share this story with others. The galaxy needs to know about the humans' capabilities. Their knowledge and skills could benefit countless others. Tarill's eyes lit up. You're right, Commander. We should send a report to the Galactic Council. They need to understand what we've experienced here. Zelkor turned to his communications officer. Prepare a transmission for the Council. We'll send a detailed report of our time at the human repair station, including everything we've learned. As the officer began to work, Zelkor addressed the rest of the bridge crew. This is more than just a report. It's a story of collaboration, of learning from one another. The humans didn't just fix our ship. They showed us what's possible when we put aside our differences and work together. The crew members nodded in agreement, feeling a sense of pride in what they had accomplished alongside the humans. Tarill began to gather her notes, preparing to contribute to the report. She knew that the council would be interested in the technical details, but she also wanted to emphasize the human approach to problem-solving. Hours passed as the crew worked on the report, carefully crafting each section to convey the full impact of their experience. Tarill wrote about the core shutdown and the subsequent damage, detailing the steps the humans took to fix the systems. She highlighted their ability to improvise and adapt, something that had impressed her the most. Meanwhile, Zelkor focused on the bigger picture. He described the humans' willingness to help without hesitation, their determination to succeed even when faced with challenges that others might consider insurmountable. He emphasized the importance of this attitude, not just in engineering, but in every aspect of life. When the report was complete, Zelkor read it over one last time. It was a powerful story, one that he knew would resonate with the council. He nodded in approval and gave the order to transmit it. As the transmission was sent, the crew felt a sense of accomplishment. They had done more than just repair their ship. They had forged a connection with the humans that would last far beyond this single encounter. They had learned valuable lessons that would change how they approached their own work in the future. A few days later, the Valaris arrived back at its base. The ship was greeted with curiosity, as word had already begun to spread about their encounter with the humans. Other engineers and officers gathered to hear the story, eager to learn from the experience. Tarill found herself at the center of attention, sharing the details of the repairs with her fellow engineers. She explained how the humans had tackled the problem, how they had found solutions where others might have given up. Her colleagues listened intently, fascinated by the humans' approach. As she spoke, Tarill realized that this story wasn't just about the humans' expertise, it was about the power of collaboration, of learning from others, and being open to new ideas. She encouraged her colleagues to adopt the same mindset, to think creatively and not be afraid to try new methods. Zelkor, meanwhile, met with... Zelkor nodded, pleased to hear that their story was having an impact. I believe it's in everyone's best interest to learn from the humans. They have a unique perspective that could benefit us all. The base commander agreed. We'll be organizing a series of workshops to explore these new techniques. Your crew will be instrumental in leading these sessions. As the days went on, the story of the Valaris and its time at the human repair station continued to spread. Engineers from other ships came to learn from Tarill and her team, eager to adopt the human methods that had proven so effective. The workshops became a hub of activity, with ideas and knowledge being exchanged at a rapid pace. The humans, it seemed, had set off a ripple effect throughout the galaxy. Their expertise, once confined to their own stations, was now influencing engineers and technicians from countless other species. The story of their collaboration with the Zartil became a symbol of what could be achieved when different cultures came together to share their strengths. And so, the Valaris crew found themselves not just as engineers and officers, but as storytellers and teachers, spreading the lessons they had learned. The galaxy was changing, and they were at the forefront of that change. In the end, it wasn't just the repairs that made an impact, it was the story of how those repairs were made, and the realization that, with the right mindset, anything was possible. A new beginning weeks had passed since the Valaris had left the human repair station, and the galaxy buzzed with stories of the remarkable collaboration between the Zartil and the humans. The workshops on various bases had introduced new techniques and ideas, transforming how different species approached problem-solving. Yet, as the excitement continued to spread, the focus was shifting towards a new chapter, one of deeper collaboration and mutual respect. Commander Zelkor found himself at the heart of this transformation. The Galactic Council had taken note of the positive impact the humans had made and was eager to explore further cooperation. Invitations had been sent out, and the time had come for the Valaris crew to return to the human station, this time as part of a larger initiative to strengthen interspecies ties. As the Valaris approached the familiar human repair station, Zelkor and his team prepared for a new kind of mission. This time, it wasn't just about repairing ships, but about building lasting relationships and forging new pathways for collaboration. Mark Thompson and his team were waiting on the station's docking bay. They had been briefed about the upcoming visit and were excited to see their Zartil friends again. As the Valaris docked, Mark greeted Zelkor and his crew with a warm smile. "Welcome back, Commander Zelkor. It's great to see you and your team again." Zelkor smiled back, feeling a sense of camaraderie. "Thank you, Mark. We're excited to be here. We've heard a lot about the positive changes happening thanks to our previous collaboration." Mark nodded, clearly pleased. "Yes, the workshops have been a big success. We've been learning a lot from each other, but now it's time for the next step." The station was abuzz with preparations for the new initiative. The plan was to create a joint task force made up of humans and Zartil engineers to tackle some of the galaxy's most pressing challenges. The aim was to combine their strengths and find innovative solutions to problems that had previously seemed insurmountable. Over the next few days, both teams worked side by side, setting up their new task force. They held meetings, discussed goals, and outlined their first major project. The excitement was palpable as they prepared to dive into their work. The first project was ambitious, developing a new type of energy-efficient propulsion system that could be used across various species' ships. This system would not only improve efficiency but also reduce the environmental impact of space travel. It was a challenge that required the best of both worlds, human ingenuity and Zartil engineering expertise. Zelkor and Mark led the initial brainstorming session, where ideas were exchanged freely. The meeting room was filled with sketches, blueprints, and a buzz of creativity. Tyrell, now a key member of the Joint Task Force, was particularly enthusiastic. She had seen firsthand the humans' unique approach to problem-solving and was eager to apply those techniques to this new project. As the days turned into weeks, progress on the propulsion system was impressive. The teams worked long hours, but the collaborative spirit kept everyone motivated. They faced obstacles and setbacks, but their combined expertise and determination led them to innovative solutions. One day, as they were testing a prototype of the propulsion system, an unexpected problem arose. The new design had a critical flaw that caused instability in the energy flow. It was a major setback and frustration.